Volvo Penta D130 diesel. So without further adu, here's the maximum speed test for the 30 horsepower diesel on Fantasia. Developing handsome thrust. 9. Oh well, I might go all the way to 8 knots. We would definitely never run this. This is flat out. I'm surprised we're not blowing a bit of smoke here. Oh, we are starting to blow a bit of smoke. Yeah, doesn't really like that. And now for the maximum speed test for the 10 kilowatt electric Golden motor. Top speed it can get compared to the diesel. Sounds like it doesn't like it much. So we're drawing all right up to the max, like 280 amps. So actually closer to the diesel, 7.5 versus 7.5 at the maximum. It certainly doesn't like to run up here, but I don't think the diesel likes it much either. But it can do it for a short burst. Yeah, 7.5 knots. That's the way in full bore. Okay, so we have just seen the 30 horsepower diesel, which hit 8 knots, slightly outdo the 10 kilowatt electric drive, which managed 7.5 knots. Of interest, the diesel is rated at 21 kilowatts, and the electric drive reached 14 kilowatts during that test. The term 10 kilowatt actually refers to the continuous power. So now we move on to the second test, the thrust test. Here we'll see how long each motor takes to accelerate Fantasia to 3 knots from 0. To me, the thrust power is very important in terms of the motor's performance in manoeuvring, docking, and short bursts to escape danger. So here we go. First, let's test the 30 horsepower diesel. Right, ready, set, go. This time I'm going to check the electric drive in the acceleration test to see how long it takes to get to 3 knots. So ready, steady, go. There we go. Now, 13 seconds. So there we are, a win for the 10 kilowatt electric motor, which was able to accelerate Fantasia to 3 knots, 2 seconds faster than the diesel. I have definitely been feeling this extra powerful thrust while manoeuvring using the electric motor. This of course is due to the electric motor developing more torque at lower revs compared to the diesel, which needs higher revs to build torque. So now we'll go on to look at how the 10 kilowatt motor performs at various power ranges and the type of range our 15 kilowatt battery will be giving us. So this would be our more typical speed that we would run at. This is the sort of RPM we used to run the diesel at. It's very gentle, it's very enjoyable. Much more of a reaction time, just cruising along. We're doing 4.6 knots. And you can see that on the OpenCPN and on the Golden Motors Easy Control app. You can see the revs just under 1500. The engine's cooling down a bit after some strong running demonstrations. Down here we are consuming only 45 amps. So that's even 40. It's very economical there. In 32 mile range in this very lovely mode here. And all free from the sun. So this is the kind of condition you might have in the doldrums no wind at all, hot sunny day, and I think the electric motor will be fantastic then. And we're making 3 knots, you can see there, and the engine is revving at just over 1050 RPM, and the BMS, the daily BMS, showing that we're drawing only 15 amps. So that would give us about 20 hours of running. So you would be able to run night and day like this virtually at a nice speed to give you a bit of airflow, and it would be lovely rather than just flopping about or having to use the diesel. So this is us cruising into Anchor. You can see here on the daily BMS we are using 0 amps. We are running at 700 RPM and we are making 2.6 knots. Just gliding into Anchor while I was doing a bit of having a look at the videos that I'm making. So that's pretty amazing, that drawing no power from the batteries because the solar panels are putting that much in, and there's still the panels on the other side to set up. So if you think about quiet solar electric drive, this would be about the epitome of it, really. Okay, so now we're settling in at about 1750 RPM, which is pulling about 85 amps, and we are making 5 knots, 4.95 knots and 6.1 knots as recorded there with the tide. You can see the tide. Okay, so we've moved on to 1950 RPM and we are pulling 120 amps and making 5.3 knots, 6.4 knots there with the tide of 1.1 knots. Okay, so now we've pushed up to just about 7.5 kilowatts or 150 amps. We are developing about 2,100 RPM and we are making 6.3 knots, 6.2 knots, and with the tide we're making 7.3. So there we are. Okay, so I hope these test runs have given you a good idea of how the 10 kilowatt electric motor performs. We've been running it now for 2.5 months and it's been an absolute dream to use. The Golden Motors display app has been fantastic and the daily screen feels very reliable and is so clear, much clearer than it seems to show up in these videos for some odd reason. Well, this very economical installation cost me under $6,000 Australian, everything included. Or that's $3,900 US. I calculate that each year we are saving $1,000 Australian on diesel, $100 on oil and filter changes, $60 on impellers, $100 in longer term replacement of exhaust manifold, etc., plus $240 on gas bottle refills, with the system spin-off of being able to use electric cooking. That's around $1,500 a year saved. Even more importantly is the great number of hours saved having to fetch diesel, exchange gas bottles, cleaning oil and water out of the engine bay, cleaning out the exhaust manifold, changing oil, etc. We win so much more time to do other things, and the system will pay for itself in 4 years. Also, this cost will be halved when I sell the Volvo Penta Diesel. Okay, so I could not be more pleased with this system. It has great range and all the thrust I could dream of to enable safe manoeuvring. Obviously, managing engine running time is a key thing. And for Fantasia, which is an excellent sailing craft, our power needs are fairly low. And we can make up for occasional slower motoring with the ability to sail at incredible speeds. For us, motoring has always been used just to hoist the sails and later to drop anchor. Of course, sometimes one does need to motor up a narrow channel or motor in very calm weather. Our large sail area and fairly light boat enable us to sail at speeds equaling the engine in anything over 3 knots. Of course, clawing off a lee shore in a gale is definitely much better handled under sail. We may even motor a bit more now with the electric motor, as instead of being concerned with our money being burnt up by the diesel, we'll now be looking to not waste the constant gift from the sun. Okay, so I have an interesting graph coming up and some further videos and also a final discussion. But at this point, if Fantasia sailing intrigues you, perhaps you may enjoy my tale of adventure and romance on the high seas in my book, Windward to Fantasia. So I'm very proud to present to you my non-fiction novel, Windward to Fantasia. For those who love travel and adventure, this story takes the reader into the wonders of the natural world and the constant challenges those who go beyond the norm must face. Written in a humble and amusing fashion, this is a story to inspire and fire dreams in armchair adventurers and sailors alike. It highlights how great challenges can be overcome on a minimal budget, and that the beauty of the world is there for all to savour, regardless of their wealth. I know you'll like it. Okay, so Windward to Fantasia is available through Amazon Books, and I'll put the link here as well as in the comments, and you can also find it under the Fantasia Sailing channel information. Enjoy! Okay, so you can see here this graph I've made up with knots, boat speed across the bottom, and up here is both range and amps draw. So the first one, you've got the boat speed against the amps, and that's the kind of graph you get with a hugely steeper amp draw with the extra boat speed, which is something you notice very much when you start to drive a electric engine. You know, they have this point where it's incredibly efficient to push your boat along and it hardly uses any, and then you come to a point where suddenly you're just using a whole lot of power and you're going hardly any further. So that's the one thing, and then you've got the range there because that's the speed and the range you get. So once again, by slowing down, you can get a huge range there, and speeding up greatly cuts down your range. So they're the basics of electric power that that you have to deal with. So the thing with getting a bigger motor is that it's hard to get a 10 kilowatt, anything bigger than 10 kilowatt in 48 volts. So that adds complexity, and then also you just haven't got the battery power to run at these higher powers anyway. You need to be running your boat at these more economical rates. That's pretty much the gist of that graph. So here we have the two motors working in conjunction very happily, helping us push through the breeze here. They work together very nicely. Even you can see even there the throttles are about equal, so it all works very nicely. We are pushing along into a headwind of about 5 knots. Okay, so Fantasia Sailing will be coming up with more informative and entertaining videos soon. There are many more aspects of this system I will provide detail on, including the all-important 48-volt solar system, the engine cooling system, building the motor housing, the benefits of electric cooking, and the 48-volt water maker, plus cruising and racing, and so much more. I can only urge you to subscribe to our Fantasia Sailing channel to get the very best information on the wonders of this sailing world. Happy sailing and happy boat work from Fantasia on Moreton Bay.